sight. And yet he says people don't seem to understand this fact, but again, this was understood by many people. So we're talking here specifically about the Tikkun Izal Ra'amehmana. If the Nazir makes this claim with regards to these two texts specifically, it is clear, it follows that if he chose to single these texts out, that it follows that he's not referring to all of the Zoharic literature as a whole. In other words, if he felt that these very, very profound and texts from, as it were, from a very high place in terms of the spiritual level, were not written 1800 years ago in practice, but in the 13th century in Spain, it follows that he would say obviously the same or more with regards to what we generally refer to as the Zohar in general. In other words, it can only be even more obvious that this is what he would hold, or this is what he would suggest with regards to other parts of the Zoharic literature. What is very important to note is that at the bottom of the second page, the Nazir writes, Yesod HaDevarim Kibalti Mipi Maran Shlita. The essential ideas here that I'm writing here, says the Nazir, I received Mipi Maran Shlita, from Maran. It is clear that there is only one person in the world that the Nazir would have referred to using such language, and that is Rav Kook, generally widely known both then and today as Maran HaRav Kook. And there's no question that he referred to Rav Kook as Maran Shlita, as we see in some of his writings.
People assume you have to.
And therefore, what we have before us is an account, a written account, in the handwriting, in the very hand of the Nazir, based on a conversation or conversations that he had with Maran HaRav Kook on this issue. It goes without saying, I believe that many people hearing this will understand, will appreciate that there are many people who are generally identified with and associated with Rav Kook and his writings, who either are not aware of this text that I have before me, have never seen it. As I say, I never heard of it mentioned or spoken of anywhere at all to this day. A, many people are not familiar with this text. B, there may be certain individuals within the Rav Kook camp, shall we say, those who claim to be his disciples and to continue his work. There may be some who have seen it or are aware of it, but would be very, very displeased if this information were to get out. In other words, if they could, as with the writings of Rav Kook himself, and we know this for a fact, that there still are in existence today many writings of Rav Kook that have never been published because there are individuals, certain well-known individuals,
I was looking for a month and I didn't know
make it
it
their
was
business
training,
to
but there's a
deny
lot of
access to these writings of Rav Kook to the general public, and even to a very limited public, for their own reasons, which we don't necessarily have to go into right here, but they feel obviously that it is better that people not know everything that Rav Kook thought and wrote.
People seem to live in the district.
I obviously do not think so. I do not believe that this for one moment. I do not believe that Rav Kook spent his life writing all that material so that it would eventually be eaten by mice in some attic or some warehouse and crumble into dust, which is in fact what more or less has already happened to some of the earlier writings of Rav Kook from going back 120 years or so. Some of those early manuscripts have in fact reached the point where they are nearly illegible for these very reasons. Tragedy. So there are definitely many people who do not know what Rav Kook wrote on this or spoke and said about this matter, and if they were to know, they would be the first to wish to hide this information from which I believe is most certainly a misguided approach, to say the least, and therefore I choose to make this knowledge and this information public. And I have the written text in front of me again. Anyone who wishes to examine it and see for himself the veracity of what I have read from it. I can't read all the words, all the text there. As I said, there are two pages and a third page as well. He also speaks here about the Ramchal. Perhaps on another occasion I will quote other statements from these few pages, but the essential message is that Rav Kook and the Nazir were, on the one hand, great mystics, Mukubalim, who believed in the essential truth of the Kabbalah on the one hand. On the other hand, they were also well versed in the realities of literary styles and expressions and language that we find in different periods, and that one can, without doubt, identify the time period and the provenance of a text based on those indications of language, expression, and style. And they were familiar with the writings of the Abbas, as we mentioned, who wrote the Mitbahat Sefarim, a book on this very subject, which was quashed and hidden and not spoken about, and is generally today unknown. I, of course, do have both
Yeah.
a photocopy.
But what the hell is this title? I mean, like, really? Are you escalating on your retardedness?
Intellectual property gives you the right to others' properties. It's a fact. Okay, let me put it like this. Let's say.
Wait. Let me just. IP gives you right. Okay, I am anti-IP.
Yeah, I don't know why Simon can't understand this dynamic.
You cut off.
Original printings of that book, plus one of my teachers, Rabbi Ben Zion Kohen Zitzal, who taught me what I know regarding Lashon HaKodesh, that is to say, the correct pronunciation of the Hebrew language. He reprinted a new, very clean and easy to read and very well typeset and produced version, edition of this book, Mitbahat Sefarim by the Abbas, a short time before he passed away.
Hello?
Which I also have.
Yeah,
Again,
now we can.
unfortunately, many people.
Did my whole rant
This, which
not get heard?
No, you went on mute.
what we see from all of this is
Okay, let me just say it one time.
I don't understand why Simon and then you went on mute.
able
Okay.
and willing.
Simon says that if a person, like let's say a
Simon
company or a
says.
group of people, they own the quarry, like they literally mine the raw material. They own all the factories in their respective area, and they arrange matter which has the input of their human knowledge and energy in a particular arrangement. That if Simon can demonstrate to the monopoly of violence that arrangement of matter approximates the arrangement of matter which he first showed to the monopoly of force, that then the monopoly of force has the right to stop those people
talk.
from doing
I
that,
fucking hate when
or
comments
from
talk.
voluntarily trading that property with somebody else. And so if that's the case, if someone has the right merely because it approximates the arrangement of matter to somebody else, not because you've stolen anything, there's no matter taken from anybody else, that is effectively you having the right to another's property, but with no logical connection.
Okay, so your argument is not necessarily about stealing other people's property, but telling other people's telling other people what to do with their property, like not being able to commercialize it. So that keeps
Yeah,
them
like-
access to it.
So like you know that ideas can't be owned because
Yeah,
the government
yeah,
doesn't
I
give
agree
you,
with that. Yeah.
the government doesn't sell you the idea. You create the idea without the government, and then you tell the government about your idea. So the idea was yours, so to speak, in a metaphorical sense, before you got title to it, which doesn't even make any sense, right? That's not what's actually happening with intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights is a sophisticated way of asserting dominion over others' property, not protecting your own.
Yeah, but telling others what not to do with their
What not-
property.
with not to do with the property. And that goes against Ayn Rand's, like every single thing she says about private property, which I've amassed a few examples. Like, she's against this. She says any
Let me
material
ask-
element.
Let me ask ChatGPT what to think about private property. Those.
But I already know Simon's gonna be like, he's gonna be against this because the fact that he wants a group of people to have essentially first-class status in a society against everybody else's second-class status shows you that he's not. I'm not saying I don't want to call him an anti-egalitarian because I don't believe in that, but he doesn't believe that there is a single morality. He believes that there are people that can violate, for example, there are people that can steal, and there are other people that can't steal. But he can't come up with a logical formulation why one group should be allowed to break the morality and the standard, as he called it, and the other one can't do it.
Yeah.
And basically, it comes down to one can do it because they wear a uniform, and the other one can't do it because they don't wear a uniform and they're not part of the game.
Yeah. I didn't realize this. This is another thing that I am in disagreement with Ayn Rand, because it says here that Ayn Rand strongly supports intellectual property as a moral right. Rand believes in IP rights as moral rights because they protect the product of the mind, Jesus Christ, which she considered the root of all property. That's bullshit.
I mean, you can say that the mind is the root of all property. That's fine. I'm not against that statement.
Yeah, but you cannot
But-
own ideas.
But see, you have to understand. Well, here's the real kicker, Lisa. When you want to talk about morality versus jurisdiction, see, there's two different things. There's another distinction that Simon doesn't understand. Okay, jurisdiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly can the government do if you, quote unquote, violate intellectual property rights? What is their jurisdiction? Where does it end? Let me ask you that. Can they take the idea out of your mind?
No, they cannot take the idea, but the way that they rule is that they make claims, like they ask the accused person or the accused body to pay, all those property rights on any. My God, overrule the only things, Diego.
I love it.
Anyway, so what they do is that they make you reimburse the owner of the idea for any money that has been made derived from that idea. So they will not take you the idea away, but they will force you not to use it.
Yeah, but my point here is that their jurisdiction is limited to the physical. All they can do is point a gun at you. They cannot alter your mind. But then she's saying that's what we're protecting. We're protecting the foundation of all property. Okay, but that's not really what you're doing. All you're doing is you're living in the physical, and the mind is the metaphysical. So what you need metaphysical jurisdiction, which doesn't exist. We can't even conceive of. What would that be? You see what I'm saying?
Sort of.
All I'm saying is, Keith, that, like, for example, if someone says,
I don't understand what you mean by metaphysical jurisdiction.
yes, in other words, the government jurisdiction ends at the point where they can't achieve an outcome using guns.
Okay.
So that means that they claim that they're protecting intellectual property, but in reality, they're just protecting property. Or, more accurately, they're just stopping people and violating property rights. They're violating the property right. And so Simon can't come up with a justification for why should the government have the right to violate people's property rights when they have committed no aggression against someone else.
And what did he say?
No, his typical path answer is like, but the standard and there is no property rights without the government and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's stupid. And I also think it's dumb that Ayn Rand needs the protection of the government or you know, like for ideas. I think there's nothing more communistic, I think, or authoritarian than using the government for like these type of things.
Well, she was a movie writer.
Well, that might be the reason why she's for IP rights, but I think it's different when we talk about IP as in like copyright, you know, like you wrote a book or you came up with, I don't know, a theory or whatever it is, you know, that you want to make sure that it's always attributed to you, rather than, I invented, I don't know, the 3-leg table, you know, and then nobody can make a 3-leg table other than me.
Yep. But you know what's bullshit too? Is that, like, how inconsistent the quote-unquote application of intellectual property is. So, like, what is the difference between the way the Google Play Store works and the App Store?
Well, the only difference is that the App Store is kind of like certified, and it's kind of like that's the reason why they don't have like an open source, because they want to verify every single app that is there.
But that's exactly what the Apple Store does too.
No, Google is more like an open source. The Android one.
But you can't get on the Play Store if you're like a virus. On the Play Store if you're a virus, right? Anyway, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is, like, at its fundamental core, they do the same thing. Okay, yeah, there's other non-essential elements that differ between both of them, but essentially they're both places for repository.
And I ain't talking shit. I'll say this right to him, I swear. You guys have different versions. I'm saying that I'll accommodate all of your versions, and I'll still be right. And I'm like, bro, why don't you just say what actually happened? Right?
What? The truth.
Apparently, different people have different narratives. Different people have different narratives. Say that again?
You can't have different facts.
Well, I guess the narrative in this case would be the fact, because, like, for example, I'm focusing on one part, like one sentence, not more than that, but like I have a primary piece that's important to me.
Like humans were having something
Phoenix.
like really
So
unique
stupid.
than other kind of creatures. They started building things, painting, having a language. There's this kind of like the behavior that is unlike others that are only starting to survive, which is, I think humans started thinking about life after death.
Phoenix, I think the one distinction is that we have written language. Other animals have language. Other animals build things. They may not paint things, but they sure do create a habitat that's very creative, right? It's like some birds create a very attractive nest for their mate. And if the mate appreciates that nest, then that mate will go ahead and breed with that other bird, right? So there is creativity in other animals and us.
Yeah, but you will find uniqueness, for example, when we talk about...
Yeah, but.
Back to them.
Phoenix, do you believe in evolution?
Yeah.
Where, damn, we got no evolution deniers on stage. Bunch of heathens. Alright, I'm gonna keep reading. A less quick but more thorough argument from radiometric dating. We've dated things that are very old. Using radiocarbon dating, we've measured things tens of thousands of years, older than the young Earth creationists say that the Earth is. Using other kinds of dating measurements have been taken of the age of rocks from the moon and early meteors that are connected with the Earth. Most were dated to billions of years old, about 4.6 billion years in the case of early meteors that pounded Earth. Now, people often object to radiometric dating. These objections are technically wrong. While carbon dating can't be used to date certain kinds of objects, they can be used to date other kinds. Again, the radiometric dating methods is done by very qualified scientists, and the details are often complicated. There are sophisticated methods for teasing out if they're getting an errant reading. But one way we know that radiometric dating gets us the right results is when multiple different ways of dating a rock converge, which has happened over and over again. If the methods went wrong, the odds are minuscule that they'd all go wrong in bizarrely specific ways and give the exact same dates. As one Redditor said, the World Trade Center was hit by the first airplane, and we all wondered what happened. I assumed it was an accident. When the second plane struck, we all knew the odds of two planes hitting the buildings 15 minutes apart by accident were vanishingly small. When two or more decay series yield the same date, we come up with the same conclusion.
Yeah, but the idea about a common ancestry, like one common ancestry, I doubt that. Like, I think there is like multiple kind of starting points in Earth that happened. So it is like not from just one cell and then that cell started, like everything in life is stemming from that cell. Now, like,
Yeah, of course.
life developed in different places.
That's not what the evolutionary biologists think, though. I mean, it's, you know, there's been multiple instances of, like wings, for example, have evolved several different times and several different branches. You know, it's quite a complex tree, and I don't think we've got a good grip on it, but we haven't got a complete grip on it. But even the one we've got is pretty complex, you know. So it's not just one cell pop and then all of a sudden there's life on Earth. It's a bit more involved.
Yeah, but if we found life in Titan, for example, like if we found life in Titan, they say that there is like water, a lot of water under the like ice, kind of freezing ice, and that water is splashed out of the ice. If we discover that there is life there, then we can combine that with what happened in Earth, and we cannot say they stemmed from the same kind of like one source and a common ancestry, but we will say that it is like water was necessary and therefore there is water, there is life. So maybe in the northern pole, life developed like bacteria or something, I don't know, like cells, and then there is a mushroom, then these kind of lives interacted with each other, and then, yeah, it's not like one, I think.
Why would you not just go by the consensus of what scientists think, which there is one common ancestor? Why would you just sort of spitball your own guesses about this? Like,
You know
there's
what
good reason to
scientists
think that.
said
What?
about it. I was in a Quranic school, I didn't study these things, but I don't know what scientists said, but what I know is that we look similar to monkeys, and like, it seems like we have something common there. And yeah, that like it is not because I read a certain book or something. It is something that is obvious that there is this kind of evolution happening in nature.
But I mean, if you keep going back, the similarities, like a monkey is like a kaluga, and a kaluga is like a squirrel, and a squirrel is like a rat, and a rat is like a mole, and a mole is like a lizard, and like a lizard is like a snake, and a lizard is like a frog, and a frog is like a salamander, and a salamander is similar to a mudskipper, and a mudskipper is a fish, and a fish is like, you just keep going back, and you keep finding these similarities, such that you go back far enough, the plants, the fungus, the animals, we all come back from similar things.
Yeah, but is it originated in one place? Like,
That's
I'm
what we
talking
think.
about like the first uncaused cause of biology. Right? Is it like from one kind of primordial soup, and then life developed in just one area, and then it started spreading, or it's like developed in multiple places.
Yeah, so there's a Wikipedia page I'd like to point you to called Luca, the last human common ancestor. So they get last universal common ancestor. And there's all sorts of reasons to think that there was a last human universal common ancestor. Like, for example, there's similar genes inside bananas and humans. There's similar genes inside fungus and humans.
Chris, you need
The best way to
to
explain that is that we have a
like,
common ancestry.
create
Otherwise,
shorts on
why
that
would God
YouTube
do it that
account
way?
and even go. I guess you're live streaming on it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
You need to
tweets,
create
for
some
example.
shorts and then
I
upload
know mushrooms
videos
share
because I think it's
something with
just
humans, but
lives. I don't even know how you got to do just
Actually,
lives without having
Yeah, they do.
the number of subscribers required to even
fish, fish
go
no.
live.
Coral
But
reefs
what I'm saying is, if you add more content,
and life in
it'll, like,
undersea, like
it'll
deep sea,
give the account more
and the
credibility.
life they find in like volcanoes that
But
are
you're very
existing
close. I
in
think
some
that could be
hot
like
water.
a.
It seems like.
Well, see, the
they're-
short-term brain rot
you know,
isn't going to stop, so it's technically long-term
So-
brain rot. That's what's happening here.
Here's what Wikipedia says about the last universal common
This
ancestor.
is long-term brain
That it was
rot.
likely
It's not going
cellular,
to change for
had
these
a
people,
lipid
but
bilayer,
for us who are
layer,
capturing the
DNA,
intellectual
genome,
property of
and
other
ribosomes
people,
for protein synthesis.
you know, we're looking to
That
the
there are no
long
fossils
term,
that exist.
and that's why I say you need to
But
modify the
Their
short term
biochemical traits are inferred
and enhance
from
your
genes
short
and mechanisms
term
shared across all
in
domains of life,
preparation for
things
a
such as
long
DNA
term.
replication, transcription and translation, repair enzymes, RNA polymerase, ribosomes, ion pumps, chemionemosis, and cell division, and it likely had a Wood-Lungeal pathway for carbon fixation. That Luca was probably anaerobic, as in it didn't use oxygen, and may have lived in hydrothermal vents or metal-rich hot springs. It likely had 2,600 genes. It it probably had enzyme cofactors like iron sulfur. I don't know what that means. Luca was not a simple protocell, but probably a relatively complex organism. It's not necessarily the first life form, but the most common ancestor of all current life. Horizontal gene transfer was common at the time.
I like how Sam like never shares a green
Anyway,
bean,
this
but
is-
yet people keep going to his
There's
rooms
reasonable evidence
because
that given the
it's
genetic
kind of like
similarities amongst all different branches of the
emotionally
tree of life,
stable, you know,
that
for the
there
most
was a
part
Luca,
because of
a last universal
this
ancestor.
app is so toxic. But Sam is like addicted, isn't he? He's like here all
You
the
know
time,
that they
creating all these
discovered
debate rooms
this
nonstop.
sort of
It's like
colony of bacteria.
he doesn't work anymore.
Right?
He doesn't have a job. He's
But they can't live on
I don't know if you
their
know
own.
his
They have to live
backstory,
in
but he was
colonies.
married for like 10
There's only
years or
one
something.
example of this.
And
I don't know the name, but if you look that up, you could easily
he
find
could
it.
be a trust fund baby.
Were you aware of that, Sam?
But he has read.
Fighting what
He's
exactly?
read the Tao Te Ching. He's read some Freemasonic
Okay, it's the
stuff.
single
I've
point.
sent him things
Like
and he's read it
bacteria, right? They're not eukaryotes.
in his rooms.
So,
Just-
but they live in
just doesn't
colonies,
care.
and they will die if you remove
He's a native.
one of them. They can't survive outside of the colony. So you're seeing almost like a transition between bacteria to like a multicellular
Here's
organism.
another genius.
And they exist now.
There's this thing called, I'm going to butcher the name of it, Dictyostelium dicoideum, which is a slime mold that exists as individual amoeba cells when the food is plentiful. But when resources are scarce, they aggregate into multicellular structure. They form a, quote, slug that moves collectively to a new location.
Can I stop you? They cannot survive on their own at any point.
And eventually a fruiting body develops from the new source.
Okay, like I said, they can't survive on their own. So if they are grouping together under some sort of external stress, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not talking about what you're talking about. I'm just talking about the fact that there's single-celled organisms.
External stress.
They've shown that they can sometimes form into multicellular things during times of stress, which is kind of like points to the transition from singular. If we already have things that are sometimes single-cell and sometimes multicellular, depending on context, that kind of gives you some clues that this sort of thing can happen. And that's probably why multicellularity evolved at all.
I'm not talking
I like
about
to
what.
think about alien biology. That like You understand the word?
Alien biology.
Yeah, I mean, alien biology. If we find aliens and we learn about them, we're gonna learn so much about ourselves. We're gonna figure out what things are contingent about life and what things are necessary for life, which will be really useful to know.
Muslim
Yeah, but
science.
I mean, if like we got invaded, for example, by aliens, it's not.
From the standpoint of know-how, the only difference between the miner of graphite and Ceylon and the logger in Oregon is the type of know-how. Neither the miner nor the logger can be dispensed with any more than the chemist at the factory or the worker in the oil field, paraffin being a byproduct of petroleum.
We're going back and forth
Neither
between
the
worlds.
worker nor the oil field
We've
nor the
reached
chemist nor the digger of
We've
graphite
reached the
or
center
clay
of
or
stupidity.
man
The gravity.
who mans or makes
The
the
center
ships or
point
trains
of
or
the
trucks, nor
universe.
the ones who runs the machines
The
that does the
ultimate
knurling of my bit of
stupidity.
metal,
The
nor the president of
super
the company
stupid
performs a single task because he wants me.
hypnosis.
Each one wants me less, perhaps, than does a child in the first grade. Indeed, there are some amongst the vast multitude who never saw a pencil nor would they know how to use one. Their motivation is other than me. Perhaps it is something like this.
Chillism.
What you want from it, so that it can give you that information. Otherwise, you can't say all these erratic things. Like for AI to claim a religion, it's just it's bogus.
Free yourselves, Chillism brothers. This is a mind virus hypnosis that Nathan and Tali have been doing for years. Free yourself from this pit of hell.
No, I was just gonna say, just to give you the specific video that I watched. There's a lady from Australia, ironically. The guy's from Australia, but her name is Lily J. She's apparently a singer, like a pop star out there. I have no idea, but I learned about her, and I learned that she reverted to Islam, and it was pretty darn amazing to me. I was like,
Could even record, let alone direct the constant changes in molecules that transpire in the lifespan of a tree. Such a feat is utterly unthinkable. I, pencil, am a complex combination of miracles: a tree, zinc, copper, graphite, and so on. But to these miracles, which manifest themselves in nature, an even more extraordinary miracle has been added: the configuration of creative human energies. Millions of tiny know-hows configurating naturally and spontaneously in response to human necessity and desire in the absence of any human masterminding. Since only God can make a tree, I insist that only God could make me. Man can no more direct these millions of know-hows to bring me into being than he can put molecules together to create a tree. The above is what I meant when writing. If you can become aware of the miraculous which I symbolize, you can help save the freedom mankind is so unhappily losing. For if one is aware that these know-hows will naturally, yes, automatically arrange themselves into creative and productive patterns in response to human necessity and demand, that is, the absence of governmental or any other coercive masterminding, then one will possess an absolutely essential ingredient for freedom, a faith and free people. Freedom is impossible without this faith. Once government has had a monopoly of a creative activity, such for instance as the delivery of the mails, most individuals will believe that the mails could not be efficiently delivered by men acting freely. And here is the reason. Each one acknowledges that he himself doesn't know how to do all the things incident to mail delivery. He also recognizes that no other individual could do it. These assumptions are correct. No individual possesses enough know-how to perform a nation's mail delivery any more than any individual possesses enough know-how to make a pencil. Now, in the absence of faith in free people, and the unawareness that millions of tiny houses would naturally miraculously form and cooperate to satisfy this necessity, the individual cannot help but reach the erroneous conclusion that mail can be delivered only by governmental masterminding. If I, pencil, were the only item that could offer testimony on what men and women can accomplish when free to try, then those with little faith could have a fair case. However, there's a testimony galore. It's all about us and on every hand. Mail delivery is exceedingly simple when compared, for instance, to the making of an automobile, a calculating machine, or a grain combine, or a milling machine, or to tens of thousands of other things. Delivery, why in this area where men have been left free to try, they deliver
deliver the human voice around the world in less than 1 second. They deliver an event visually and an emotion to any person's home when it is happening. They deliver 150 passengers from Seattle to Baltimore in less than 4 hours. They deliver gas from Texas to Wentz Range or Furnace in New York at unbelievably low rates of wind without subsidy. They deliver each 4 pounds of oil from the Persian Gulf to our eastern seaboard halfway around the world for less money than the government charges for delivering a 1 ounce letter across the street. The lesson I have to teach is this. Leave creative energies uninhibited. Merely organize society to act in harmony with this lesson. Let society's legal apparatus remove all obstacles the best it can. Permit these creative know-hows freely to flow. Have faith that free men and women will respond to the invisible hand. This faith will be confirmed. I, pencil, seemingly simple though I am, offer the miracle of my creation as testimony that this is a practical faith, as practical as the sun, the rain, a cedar tree, the good earth. That's pretty beautiful.
I'm sorry I didn't know it was so long. I hadn't read it in
Yeah,
years. I did a condensed version of it at one point. But the point is, what do you think, Isa? That's what Simon doesn't understand. He's more authoritarian than he thinks.
He is a hard time.
And he's constantly thinking that he's the freedom lover.
Yeah, well, I don't think he will disagree with the story of the pencil, but I mean, I think it. Oh my god, I'm super tired. I think it.
Late night.
No. Well, actually, kind of.
Oh.
I had trouble I had trouble falling asleep last night.
That's what the Swiss snail will do to you.
Yeah. It really. I am missing my words. Represents or whatever. The reasons why intellectual property is why innovation comes from other innovation and other innovations, and people build on what other people do.
To anyone like Simon that thinks that they can organize society in a way that is rational, it's very difficult to explain to them the complexity of society and how these things that he thinks are planned by smart people are not actually planned by smart people. They come about through the lesser planning of many, many people, some who aren't even smart.
I think objectivism is a very elitist philosophy.
Yeah.
Because it dictates, like, who is good enough to dictate what objective is.
Right. Yep.
And what people should value. Yeah.
Super elitist. And that's what, like, the whole. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, you guys finish. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's what Atlas Shrugged is all about. Like the Galt's Gulch is all about like the elite moving there because everyone is a dumb sheep. That's what it's about. You know, and that's like Keegan, you're a Christian, so your vision is not. It's not about a heaven full of elites. It's a heaven full of loved ones, which is a different thing.
I think what Billy Graham said, he hopes that hell is empty, right? Which is a crazy concept, but that, pretty much that, we're all deserving of hell, hopefully no one goes there.
See, so it's not an elitist view. It's designed so that anyone can enter the kingdom of heaven.
But talk about Christian faith. This is really for Issa as a Zionist and as a Catholic. Issa, you're Catholic, right?
Only culturally, and even that is under question.
Well, here's my question, okay? And I heard this a few days ago, and I haven't heard a good argument against it. Now I'm hoping that maybe Issa, being the intelligent, independent woman that she is, will give me a good argument. So, Issa, as a Christian, you probably, hopefully believe that God writes the Bible in scrimmage. Whether or not you did maybe some form of tribulation, if you're pre or post-tribulation, it doesn't really matter. You believe
In revolution or revelation?
Revelation.
What part?
You believe in the book Revelation written by John.
Yeah, but what part are you referring to?
Well,
Or just in general?
I'm just setting some framework here. So we would then agree in the prophecies of Revelation of what the Antichrist will do. And so my question here for you is, how should we as Christians be true allies in Zionism if knowing that if the nation does prosper, Israel, the nation of Israel prospers, and they are able to build the third temple, and they're able to make a peace treaty, as predicted in Daniel, that there will be a peace treaty with the Antichrist in Israel, a 7-year peace treaty, should we not want the own demise of the world itself, of end times itself, by not supporting that nation, so that hopefully we do not
Where
see
exactly are you making this link? You're sounding like an idiot right now.
Well, no. Wait, I'm so sorry. Do you not know the reason?
In other words, you sound like a Protestant.
Second.
Yeah, you're sounding like a top dancer.
Whoa. Second Thessalonians 2:4 and Revelation 11:1-2.
Where in the Bible does it say that for our own good we should be against Israel? Show me exactly where it says, because that's the conclusion that you're coming to, but I'm not able to put the dots together that your Nick Fuentes framed it.
Oh my God! Did you see? By the way, did you see that Nick Fuentes was on the live stream with Kanye, and Kanye talked about how they all should get cut, and then he realized that the live stream was on, and he turned it
No, I
off.
didn't, because I don't follow either of them. I don't like them.
He was like talking about how good it is to be a cuck and we should all get cucked. And then he realized that the live stream was on and Kanye typically turned it off. He unplugged the camera. Yeah.
Well, they're both cocks. They are cocks. They're probably gay. But I'm coming to just the logical conclusion that I don't want to see end times in my life.
How are you going against the third temple when that is part of the Bible?
No, it is part of the Bible, but do I want to see that fulfilled in my lifetime? No. Why would I want that? Why would I want to see that fulfilled in my life? That's my point, right? So Revelation.
So you don't want prophecy? You don't want prophecy to be fulfilled?
Not my lifetime, because that means that the end times is near, and I would rather my kids.
So you're scared of the kingdom of God?
I'm not scared at all. I don't think you understand what the end times looks like, right? It's not. It's a prosper time. It's a prosper time.
Were you granted skill to look into what the last days will look like, the end times will look like?
Well, again, we have an idea, right? We have an idea. That's the whole point, is that we have an idea. And my point is that if anything, it's more supportive not to support Israel. It's more supportive to not support Israel.
So you're wanting to delay prophecy. So that's the reason why your heart thinks that it is right to push back on Israel, so that.
We're not just delay prophecy.
I agree with that, Issa, for the record.
What?
I agree with Keegan on this.
Of course, I know you do.
As long as we're clear.
Both are against Israel.
But also, right, Israel, supposedly our greatest ally, is going to again make a peace treaty with the Antichrist, meaning that they're going to be in allyship with the person that will bring destruction.
Yeah, honey, where exactly does that say in the Bible?
Oh yeah, let me pull it up. I'll read it.
Yeah.
Straight.
So, no. Daniel, where it says with those words, Israel will make a peace treaty with the Antichrist.
Yeah, Daniel 9:27.
Daniel 9.
Yeah.
9:27.
Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be the one who makes desolate, even until the
tribulation which is determined is poured out onto the desolate.
Where exactly does it say Israel?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You should, do you know the context of Daniel 9, or should we go through the whole context? I thought you would know your Bible. Maybe as a sola scriptura, I know the context of Daniel.
Where exactly does it say Israel? I asked you for a quote.
Yeah, Daniel 9 is speaking, and again, just as he says, it shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. This is what suggests of a temple being rebuilt, and they're doing the sacrifice and offerings that Jews do. This is talking specifically.
Also, it's your interpretation of it. It's
No.
This says so, right?
No, this is what the Pope this is what your Pope this is what your Pope. Why don't you just read what your cardinals write about Daniel 9? Don't say that this is relating to Israel, Isa. This is not my words. This is your.
He's got a point. Isa.
But so, and then the middle of the week. Understand that week in this term of phrase is called the 7-year tribulation, which again is written by cardinals and popes. This is not even debated among Protestants and Catholics. Tribulation, the year of 7-year tribulation, is a Catholic and rabbis. Your rabbi's gonna be a lot better at explaining this.
Randy,
I'm making the point here to Isa. Why would we support Israel if Israel will side with the Antichrist? And on top of that, Israel must prosper, must be able to build a third temple. Right? Like, Israel must prosper for the end times to come. So why would we want to be an ally to someone who's just going to cause end times? Randy?
I don't think they will cause end times.
Can you explain your reason?
I don't think they're going to cause end times, but you're saying if in the case that they are causing end times, why would we support them?
Sure.
Yeah, sure, but yeah, if they do this, I mean, like, if the plane crashes, nothing is crashing, dude.
If under the assumption that they are going to cause the end times, which I don't think they are able to begin with,
no, they're just going to cut the ceasefire with the Antichrist. Peace, right, Tegan? You said?
Well, the Antichrist, they're going to make a treaty. With the Antichrist, a peace treaty, and the Antichrist will then stab them in the back and halfway through.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do it. But
based on Daniel 9. Based on just Daniel 9. Daniel 9:27.
Yeah, but that happened with the destruction of the second temple.
But the only way that Daniel 9:27 is fulfilled, though, is with the third temple in place, because this is what Daniel 9:7 says when it says that they will be making, here, let me pull back up, but they'll be making offerings. He shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offering. Right? So the only way that the Jews are doing sacrifice and offerings is if the third temple is built.
No, but they're mixing things. They're mixing a lot of things. So you're talking about Daniel 9 or Daniel 7?
Daniel, we're talking about Daniel 9 right now.
He's a process for him.
Yeah, but Daniel 9 is about the second temple, not the third temple. And after the second temple is destroyed, there will be the end to sacrifice it. You see? Because there won't be a temple up until the end times.
They could build it now.
Am I misunderstanding? I thought that Jews have to have the third temple to have sacrifices offerings. Is this wrong?
They have to have a third temple to do what?
To perform their sacrifices, like, you know, to. Is that not true?
No, that is true, but what does that mean? Does that mean?
Well, then if Daniel 9:7 says, or Daniel 9:27 says that he's going to bring an end to sacrifices, that means that the third temple must be built. No?
No, that means that they will not after the
Randy!
So up until the end, eventually, but in the temple will be restored by the Messiah.
You stupid fucks! It's called a metaphor. It's your brain we're talking about, you schmucks. It's not literal, stupid.
Temple now, right? I have that understood correctly.
The temple now is your brain, you morons.
They're not gonna. They will never build a temple.
supposed to build the temple. But they could, and it would be a valid temple, right?
No, because who's gonna be the priest?
Well,
Migzed will be the priest, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly, except Hebrew Israelites. He thinks. What are you talking about?
it'll be the most worthy amongst them, which they will call the Messiah.
Migzed is the most worthy. I mean, they really have a problem. No.
It's called a metaphor, stupid. How many times do I have to say the word metaphor or analog, analogy? Walaikum assalam, Dr. Frankie. How are you today, you terrible human being, you? Ooh, Simon's here. Simon says. Simon knows everything. Hi, Simon. Simon says.
Let the record show that Norma owes me $5,000 because he's a little.
I need Rico very fast.
Well, why? Was there a new bet?
That's right. He 2 bets, but he wouldn't take the second one.
Yeah, but you can't hold it against
You bet them fucking clovers. 4-leaf clovers are worth 1,000 apiece. Put it in a piece of jewelry.
You can't hold it. You can't use the second bet against if he didn't accept it. What's the first bet?
Nigga, they weren't linked bets. Nigga, you weren't even there.
No, okay, but I'm saying if we bet, but you didn't accept.
Although you are my prize, nigga. You kicked him, so actually.
I didn't kick.
That's right.
What's with the usage of the N-word just indiscriminately? You don't make it a special usage or something? You just drop it all the time now? Is that proper English?
I didn't kick him.
Ooh, Dr. Australia writes, gullible, deranged, delusional, toxic Tim.
I like him normal. Why would I kick him?
You like him like a slave.
He's stupid.
I like him like a client.
Projection alert. Projection alert.
He could be my son.
There's the
I know.
fucking client. I still clients. That's right.
I thought something changed. You guys are just simply still wasting time. I mean, it's absurd.
This is a waste of time. But you know what?
You missed a very important thing we read.
Yeah, Princessia, that was such a beautiful reading. Great job.
Honestly, I think she can do better.
Well, she doesn't have the stamina.
Yes, let's throw it back.
So who here thinks that intellectual property gives you the right to other people's property? Simon, what say you? Simon says.
What a waste of time.
It's true, Randy. It does give you right to other people's property.
What gives you the right to what? Of IP?
IP, yeah.
I don't think it gives you
All right, Dr. Australia, go to my other room.
It doesn't give you the right.
Called intellectual property.
I don't think you can own intellectual property. I don't think you can own ideas. I'm sorry.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's not what it gives you. Intellectual property doesn't give you the right to the idea. What it does is it gives you the right to stop other people from arranging matter that they rightfully own in a way that approximates something that you have as an agreement with the government.
Well, the whole thing comes down to lawfare. If you have the money to fund a lawsuit to try to get the outcome you want, I mean, then that's the forced IP. But all this shit comes down to lawfare.
Right.
I feel like you can just say.
Is that like a broke?
That you can't just profit on another person's.
Who said I'm fucking broke? I've got lots of cash. I've got a fucking $700,000 property.
Have you looked at your anytime soon?
I fucking own you. I fucking own you.
They're gonna sue your ass into oblivion after the lava chicken thing, man.
I know. You know, that was big. Thanks for bringing that back to my attention. I just want to keep doing it all the time, to tell you the truth. It's gold. It's gold, Jerry. Gold.
Yeah.
Link in the chat. Don't go to johnkidover.com. Don't go there.
Don't go to donkeydiver.com because they fucking own you. Bitch, you could have had a shepherd's pie for lunch. Instead, you decided to buy my domain name. Like I give a fuck. You're going to be working the rest of your life trying to do SEO keyword optimization like that fucking matters, mate. I can give two shits.
Hold on. I added the main ID line. I forgot about it because too much shit's going on. Let me check.
He's busy working. He just got a government grant for the first time in his ethno state.
That might be the funniest thing. I did not. That's hilarious. I did that mistake. Queens for Palestine for John. that is phenomenal.
Okay, Diego. One of my favorite memes, right? It's also a Matrix meme. It's Morpheus, and he's offering the red and the blue pill to Neo, right? And the second half of the meme at the bottom, it's Neo who's deciding. And Morpheus says in the top half of the meme, he says, Neo asked the question to be like, so you're telling me all I have to do is look at the early life section? And Morpheus says, I'm telling you, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Alright, you know what? So, like, my idea was like, do you remember Hot or Not? I had the idea of registering Jew or Not, and then just being able to do like a Tinder swipe. It could be like Jew or Not, but someone else owns JewOrNot.com. Oh. The Goyim have to know. We gotta wake them up.
My favorite variation on that Morpheus meme is him. It's a cartoon version, and it's Morpheus offering the pills. And, Neo takes the red pill, and then in the next comic square, Neo's passed out drooling, and it's just Morpheus' ass.
You with me? So I get the last bit. It's just Morpheus' what?
I'd say that Neo takes the red pill, but then in the next frame, he's passed out and drooling on a bed, and it's just Morpheus' bare naked ass.
That's right.
Well, don't be thinking
JewOrNot.com is for sale. Should I make an offer?
Yes.
GoDaddy.com, get this to me and make an offer. My offer is USD.
This could be a banger.
Should I offer $6 million? That's right. Bro, listen to me. Climb-Heist is off the hook. I went the most DEF CON level I've ever went last night, and somehow I'm not good.
Wow. That's right. Can you give us the highlight?
I told Niggerkite to eat a Cyclone B sandwich and to get back in the oven. I must have called that guy a nigger or a kike about 500 times. It started off well El Normo for about 2 hours straight, and then this dipshit Bibby joined the fucking room and started crying. So I was like, that Bibby guy is like Jew Canadian Brad, right? He sounds exactly like Brad, and it's just like, yeah, say that to my face and I'll fuck you up. And you're like, yeah, bro, okay, next story, where are you at, right? I'm just like, and then he's crying like, why would you do this? Like, it's just, from one extreme to the other. I'll fuck you up to then, I'm gonna tell you, teacher. Like, he's a crybaby bitch.
We don't like to say these things. We don't like to say nigger kind.
Do you prefer to say Cyclone A sandwich?
Well, that's fine, but
that's right.
But refrain from using the word kind.
Why? Yes. It comes off the tongue so well.
You can say nigger.
No, it's very.
I said what I said.
It's very like visceral, like saying like fuck.
I said what I said.
It's like
I said what I said.
it comes off. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, but I said what I said, nigga.
I didn't stutter, baby. Anyway, Fatima is in love with me. I'm sorry to tell you.
Fucking faggot.
That's right. Jealous, bro.
Yeah.
We should start doing that for Frankie as well.
Frankie! I changed my mind on Rambo Son, honestly.
That's alright. Mr. Steel Girl.
Still is nuts. How about that?
You'd like that?
Love that.
That's gonna be my new handle. Mr. Steel Girl.
I'm not so sure about that one.
That's right.
That's right.
You couldn't steal stealing Diego's girl. But
Go to Tim Rob's, the fucking faggot leprechaun.com to see all the ethno-state
Put the
content
link in
you've
the
ever.
chat. Put the link in the chat. Put the link in the chat.
Oh, that's
TimTheFaggot.com.
This nigger went and registered a domain for me, but he wouldn't renew the domain. Obsessed with me.
Obsessed with me. Obsessed with me. All live in a little ethno-state known as Northern Ireland.
Ethnostate.com.
And did you see? You know what was hilarious yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, where we were talking with Elle, and Elle was talking about how great it is that Jews have their own Ubers and their own ambulances and their own ports and stuff. But then when you say, I want the same thing for whites, then she's like, no, that's wrong.
Oh, 100%, bro.
You're like, okay.
They literally either don't care, or like they either don't care or they don't get it, and they're shameless about it, you know?
Unbelievable, man. They have their own Ubers, not even in the United States, they have their own Ubers in Mexico.
Jews have their own Ubers in Mexico?
I'm telling you, it's called Magen David. You can look it up.
So is it literally fucking kite drivers for kite passengers?
Bro, you think John can just live a life of leisure the way he does? Like, dude, he's clearly being supported by
A life of
whatever you
leisure.
call it, the Haganah or whatever the hell.
You gotta understand, I signed a contract with Mossad in 2022 after they heard about my Clubhouse trolling, and it's been great. It's been a gravy train ever since. Technically, it all comes from USAID funding, but nobody knows any of that, so don't worry about it. Don't ask any more questions, okay? Just let me live my life of leisure. And you racist, bigoted, low IQ, white trash piece of shit, scumbag faggots. You can say all you want, register as many domain names as you want. Don't eat as many shepherd's pies as you could, you know? It's up to you. It's fucking up to you to change the world. And you are obsessed with me.
Did you put the link in the chat? I want to see this website. Come on.
Rambleson, can you say I eat steak at 8 o'clock?
That's right.
She's not Scottish.
You know what I'm having for lunch today?
I
Makluba.
don't know how he says it, but it's just so awesome.
Randy's obsessed with George Galloway and just thinks that I'm Scottish.
George Galloway!
He's actually he's very funny,
Bro,
actually.
I love this app, but I could just say certain keywords and like Diego's just gonna go Randy and fucking Rabbi is just gonna go George Galloway, right? Like it's just people are just gonna start sounding off, right?
Welcome with me, Tim Rambleson, on the mother of all talk
Like, I swear to God, for about 10 minutes, one time, I literally had a whole Clownhouse room where no one said anything but just Clownhouse catchphrases, right? Like, that's right.
The Zionist entity known as the Benjamin Netanyahu Likud government.
That's right.
They have been genociding the Palestinian people for hundreds of years. And it is up to us, the English people of the Isles, to defend these poor indigenous aboriginals.
Brooklyn? Nora, did you see that? You saw the Jews did a pogrom on that girl?
Yeah.
They thought she was wearing keffiyeh in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I saw it. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy,
Talking
right?
about some rabid Semites, dude.
Yeah, that's bad behavior. Really bad behavior.
Jews are not really Semites for the most part, right?
That's right.
But, well, what are we supposed to call
But did
them?
you hear her interview? She said she put her mask on, and only when she put her mask on did they get pissed. So she's a fucking bitch, troll, putting on a mask, you know, fucking
They
around.
threw shit at her in front of the police, and the police really treated them like first-class citizens.
The police didn't even help her at first. It was one cop who walked her away.
I know. So
The fact of the matter is, you know, this is 2025. If you're gonna mask up, some people are gonna ask some questions.
The NYPD has an office in Israel.
Hooray!
Wow.
Victory!
Facts. Like, look it up.
I mean, John, are you ashamed of your people and what they
It's
did?
not. They're not my people.
Serious politics?
These are just called people, and you dumb fucks who use terms like white people, black people, hard R's all the time.
Of course.
You guys are stupid, and you're wasting your time as I record you and put you across the interwebs, and I steal your intellectual property.
I take your milkshake.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it all up.
John, you have to give some lip service to the shame of what the Jews did in that day, and what's in their hearts, man. Do they even have souls?
Listen, an annoying young woman.
I heard that same-sex disease is called the soulless disease.
Can you explain it? What's happened?
They basically did a pogrom on this girl who's not even Palestinian.
Pogrom. There's a bunch of smiling, laughy, goofy guys laughing at her, pointing at her. They didn't spit on her. They didn't do anything to her.
What do you mean? They threw objects at her, dude.
What did they throw at her? A piece of paper?
Basically, a bunch of rabid Jewish criminals went.
Rabid Jewish criminals?
Because she put her scarf around her face, and they thought she had a keffiyeh.
Yeah, well, you know what? She was a protester. I don't know if you heard her interview, but she's a troll and she's an annoying person, and this is what happens to annoying, trolling people. They get attacked, just like me.
This is what happens
This
when
is
you
what
look at the
people
Israeli in the
register.
ass.
Good one.
Comedy comedian.
Hey, Rico, how are you doing?
What does it matter at the end of the day?
It doesn't matter.
Dude, if it was done to a Jew, they would have carpet bombed Brooklyn.
She was Jewish. What are you talking about?
Probably, to be honest with you.
What else was she there for? Yeah, she was there for something.
Know something funny about Jews? Every time we catch someone who is like doing they're drawing swastikas on the walls publicly. Or
right.
They did a mitzvah. Well, you do realize psychology.
What you doing there, Rabbi?
Dude, we caught someone in Montreal. We caught someone in Montreal, and she's doing a Heil Hitler sign, and she's doing all that stuff. And it turns out she's a Jewish woman who like.
She's a Yiddishkeit.
Yeah, she's a Jewish woman. That after they caught her.
Is there any other group of people that try to manufacture circumstances in their favor?
The Northern Irish, the fucking Northern Irish Webmaster Association that you're a part of.
Same goes for the trucker convoy here in Canada. Everyone starts saying, "Oh, it's the Nazis! Oh, these guys are smart." Why? Because there was one guy who had like a swastika thingy. I bet my ass is a Jew, 100%.
Listen, you guys are talking about the Jews, the N-words, but what do you do in terms of self-reflection and personal insight and self-actualization? What do you faggots actually even do with your life other than come on here and say Jew every third sentence and just talk what other people are talking and no one can even hear you, but yet you still keep talking because you want the fucking dopamine? You're fucking pathetic.
John, talking about the Jews is all about self-reflection because we use you guys as a sign of what not to do in our lives. That's right. Big example of what not to do.
It's
How
right.
not to live.
Example or a warning, right?
You mean to tell me you analyze the media and use other people's intellectual property to determine how to best analyze your life and make decisions? That's a true praxeologist position. I can understand that. But the point is, if you're a self-taught economist and all you do is read Ayn Rand all day long and quote Ayn Rand, are you really living life? Are you really alive? Are you even alive? Are you even breathing? Are you even here right now? You're in a social audio chat talking about nothing, wasting your time.
What a waste of time!
Rabbi, you have to bring good conversation, or I'm gonna have to bring it back up.
Well, there can be no conversation when stop screaming.
Oh my God, what's that PTR?
Fuck. God damn.
Why is it green?
Oh, Masada. Sal is my new favorite person on planet. What are you guys seeing, man?
Why does Issa have a room called Bobadia's Intervention Room?
What are you guys seeing?
Okay, hold on. No one speak. 1 second. Did you notice how you turned this into a drama situation,
It's
right?
not drama, it's funny.
You notice how you
Funny.
literally just
Why are you white knighting for Bobadia, Bradley?
It's not about Bobadia.
Why are you white knighting, bro?
I've been wrestling with Bubba Butt.
Are you a gentleman or are you gay?
Why are you simping?
Are you a gentleman or are you gay?
Why are you simping for Bubba Butt?
I'm not. I'm deriding and ridiculing
Okay,
you.
so like.
Are you being a gentleman or are you gay?
So why?
Are you being a gentleman or are
I'm
you
not
gay?
even telling you not to do it. I'm just
It's
Sorry.
funny.
asking you.
Makes it all
I'm just asking you if you notice that you literally you are. This is how
I
you start
ridicule
the drama.
everyone. The Jews more equally than others, but I ridicule everyone.
No one's talking about you. I'm talking about Bubba Butt.
That's right. Like you're literally talking.
I'm not even telling you not to do it, Bubba Butt, but I'm just telling you. I'm just hoping you notice that you just.
How is it drama? The room is in the hallway.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
I'm asking you if you see it. It's funny.
Because
It's
okay.
funny. What's
Well, I'm just saying it's drama. So,
how's it drama? You can see it in your hallway. What's the drama?
Diego, can you go on ChatGPT and ask it what is drama and how?
Yeah, what is the drama? It's funny. What's the problem?
Okay, I will do it. I will do it for you. So I have to work, but that's fine.
But this is more important.
What is drama? How can I explain to a white American woman what drama is and why it is drama to constantly talk about other people rather than things? Drama is often used to informally describe unnecessary emotions. Interpersonal issues.
Amazing. So saying that the title of the room in the hallway.
Simple way to explain it to a white American woman is that drama is when people focus on personal conflict.
I'm nice.
Well, I'm just trying to explain it to a white woman.
Read it in your
Often making things bigger than they need to be when conversations
You're the one
constantly revolve
making it
around
bigger than
others
it
are
needs to be.
doing.
You literally could have just left it
When
and moved on.
conversations constantly revolve